So the real shock news yesterday wasn't that a player was coming in, it was a player that was close to leaving. Luis Guilherme, and the interest is from the Saudi Pro League, and the club have confirmed it. Now, the club have only said there's a 10% chance, but in my experience, that means that something probably is likely to happen. That's the sort of language they use when the wheels are sort of in motion for something. I've heard this before. So I believe, well, I can't say it will definitely happen, but I believe it's a huge possibility. It's more than just one of those rumours that, you might get on one of sort of a generic website or whatever. I'm disappointed. There's no doubt about it. I think nothing highlights the mismanagement of West Ham, and particularly the football operations, more than this transfer. This is something that you see so many clubs do. They get in a young player and then they have some sort of program, some sort of development idea for the player. It could be any number of things. Maybe he goes out on loan to a feeder club or a sister club or whatever the case may be. Maybe he spends a little bit of time with the under-21s and a bit of time with the first-team squad and just this, that and the other. There's any number of things. Or he's so good he goes into the first team. West Ham have done none of it. None of it at all. And it's just been a horrendous transfer. I upset some people yesterday because I called the transfer a flop, and I think people thought I was calling him a flop. Far from it. I mean, I've done videos on this very channel saying the club need to do something with this kid. It's been complete and utter inactivity, and I don't think it's fair on the lad himself to take somebody from Brazil, bring him over here with all the hope and expectation in the world. Don't get me wrong, he'd have been well paid, and I'm sure his family come with him. In fact, I think I read at some point that they did. But the transfer is horrendous. There's no other... Well, there is another way, so you don't have to describe it as flop. It's a failed transfer. It's a complete and utter abomination of a transfer. We've let ourselves down. We've let the player down. Just everything. And I think probably even worse than that, we've not made ourselves a viable club to come to if you are one of those players. Now funny enough, it's funny with us recruiting Graham Potter, because I couldn't tell you the names, but Brighton had a transfer strategy. I think I might have this wrong. Maybe Caicedo came over. I might have this wrong. Was it from? He might have come over from Independiente or something like that. He came over from Brighton, and Brighton loaned him out, and then they basically groomed him to be a first-team player and replace Basuma. I might have that slightly wrong, and if I have that, but there's certainly players that they've done that with. I think any young player travelling from overseas to come over to England and develop would probably be looking at and thinking, I'm not sure West Ham's the club for me in that sense. I know it's not the same. We've been linked with that Celtic striker, the young lad, the 18-year-old who scored 24 goals in 24 games. And I know obviously Celtic is Glasgow's a lot closer than Brazil, but nonetheless, you'd still look at it and think, what have they got a plan for me? Maybe that's changed under Graham Potter. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. But I certainly think it goes some way to explain, why Guilherme wasn't involved. I wanted him to start against Aston Villa, against Fulham, and I thought. We've had this conversation many, many times over the years at Hammers Chat, and it's a conversation. I've said it. You'll know what I'm going to say now. It's if not now, when? And we discussed it with Elise when Elise had played really, really well in Europe. He'd done brilliantly. He was captaining the youth side, and we were decimated with no centre backs. And you think this is his chance, and he didn't get his chance. And I think at a time when the squad are decimated by the loss of forwards, the loss of wingers, you thought, okay, this is Guilherme's chance, and he didn't get it. Now, they are two very, very different things, by the way. Elise, who costs nothing, is coming from the academy, and somebody we have gone out and spent £20 million for. If you want to make the case that he can't start ahead of Jared Bowen, nobody's going to argue with you. If you want to make the case that he's not going to start ahead of Mohamed Kudus, then again, nobody's going to argue with you. But there's got to be a sort of pathway. When people are dropping like flies, and when Somerville's out as well, you would expect him to start. I'm not blaming Potter, by the way. I think what this says is, I think Potter would have used him, because Potter's already shown that he is willing to use youth. I think Potter had probably already been given a tip off that this boy's on the way out. So I think that's probably what it was. In case it's more a case of don't play him, don't want him to get injured. Now, quite late last night, rumours started circulating that it was going to be about 30 million euros. I don't know how true that is. I just don't know. The club haven't said anything on that. All they've said is there's a 10% chance of this transfer happening. Realistically, and I am sorry to say this because I wish it hadn't been this way. I wanted it to work out. I wanted West Ham to have a better structure. If that's the case, and we're likely to get 30 million euros, which is basically our money back, I don't know how it works. I don't know if you sell a player on early, do you have to then pay the knock-on fees that Palmeiras would have been due? I think our fee was 20 million going to 24 or something like that. Whatever. We get our money back, maybe even we get a little bit of profit. I'd snap their hands off. Because it's not worked. And because it's not going to work. And West Ham need funds. And we need funds to bring players in now. So I think it's actually got to be done. Because we can't sell Mohamed Kudus, which was the initial plan before everybody else started getting injured. But just because I want him sold doesn't mean I like it. I really, really don't. And I think this is a massive slight on the club that it's so disjointed. And you can blame who you want. You can blame the owners. You can blame Steidten. You can blame Lopetegui. As I say, you can't blame who you want. You can't really blame Potter for this because he's not been there 2 minutes. But what it just shows is this completely disjointed thinking for a lad who surely should have got a chance. Surely there was some point, even in Lopetegui's reign, even if I know he wouldn't get in ahead of Bowen, but, more time from the bench. The ridiculous thing is he played for the under-21, scored a really nice goal, and then he didn't play again. Maybe he played once, but he just didn't play. I think he's made one, at maximum 2 appearances for the under-21s. So it was nothing. Nothing was happening with this kid at all. Maybe there was a plan to get him out on loan this January and then there's a chance to sell him and move him on. And the kid may do really good things in the game and he may do nothing. I don't know. And you never know this. And we have this argument with youngsters and young players that come through. And sometimes they don't get a chance and nothing happens. Harrison Ashby would be a really, really good example. I wanted him to get his chance. I thought he was going to become a player. Goes to Newcastle, nothing happens. Okay, but you want to find out, don't you? I think you want to go, and I always like these young players, be they through the academy or if we brought them in like we have with Guilherme, to be given a chance to sort of 4 or 5 games maybe. Get a little idea. I mean, I've seen numerous people saying, "Oh, he looked okay." I remember he hit the post. Was it against Villa? Was it maybe the game before? But whatever. But we are looking at snippets. We've not really seen much of him at all. What this has certainly done is increased the pressure on Tim Steidten. There's no doubt about that at all. And whilst I have no sympathy with Tim Steidten for the Fulkrug one because, as I say, that whole thing about Fulkrug hadn't been injured much in the last 3 years. That is the truth. But you scratch below that, and he has spent over a quarter of his career injured. He was always going to pick up an injury. I think we could have done a lot better than that. But I have also heard that Tim Steidten really did want to initially in the summer push through that John Duran transfer. But I don't overly blame him for going out and trying to pick a young Brazilian player. Because that's what I've always wanted West Ham to do. The Portuguese clubs do it so well. And what happens is, not we personally, West Ham, well, I guess we did with Lucas Paqueta, but, generally they go over. They either go over to Portugal or they go over to Shakhtar or something like that. And they do really, really well. And then someone else buys them for 50, 60 million. I've always wanted us to get in early and to do this sort of stuff. And a lot of the biggest clubs think nothing about doing this, spending 15, 20 million euros on a young player and developing him with a real structure and with a real sort of club philosophy to make it work. And we just don't know. I think with this one, I think you just got to look at each one differently, each transfer differently. And whilst I do believe that, that Fulkrug never should have been signed, good player as he is, you're never going to know with Guilherme. You're never going to know whether he was any good. And I think if I was Tim Steidten, I'd be saying, you didn't give me a chance. You didn't give him a chance is more to the point. So, but he will come under more pressure. There's no doubt about it. His summer transfers have been heavily scrutinised. Fulkrug, Guilherme, Todibo. And I said on a video just before, there's a video on Patreon. I said it just before Potter came in. I said it's funny because Steidten's transfers are under scrutiny at the moment. And I'm not flip-flopping on Tim Steidten. I'm just not black and white on him. I still would suspect he can't get on with people very well because he seems to fall out with people. You can have that opinion and still think he can be a good talent spotter. All right, I'm unsure, and I'm finding out more. I've certainly not made up my mind. Not made up my mind on him, which is why I wanted to see how he got on with Potter. But I do think. Well, this is what I said in the video, which was he's under scrutiny for his transfers, but Potter could come in and then Guilherme, Füllkrug and Todibo could work out really well. And then all of a sudden, Steidten's summer transfers have been good. They've gone from actually being under investigation to actually, this is well done, Tim. Can we have more of the same, please? Now, things turn around really quickly. Füllkrug gets injured, looks bad on Steidten. Moved the kid on without him playing. It doesn't look good either. So, I don't know. I guess if anyone's of a cynical mind, you're probably thinking the same thing that I'm thinking at the moment, and that is that this is, if you wanted Steidten out, this might be quite convenient. Who knows? But the whole thing, we shouldn't even be talking like this. We shouldn't be thinking like this. The club is, for this to happen, the club is a mess, and all I can hope is that really Potter brings some stability to all this, and I have big hopes for that. I really do. He's got character, Potter, and it's a discussion for another day. Actually, it's not for now. I've already kept you busy for long enough, and there'll be more stuff to happen today. It's the transfer window, and things are going pretty damn quickly at the moment. I want to say one thing. Actually, I don't normally say to people, "Can you subscribe and do the thumbs up and the bell?" I've got to be honest with you because I watch quite a lot of YouTube, not West Ham stuff. When I finish doing West Ham, I watch a lot of sort of MMA stuff, and I like my Joe Rogan. I watch him, I listen to him on YouTube. I do, whatever. A lot of boxing stuff as well. And whenever people say, "Oh, can you please subscribe?" I think, "Oh, all right, you're boring," basically. So the other day I said it, and I said, "Would you be kind enough to have a little look and see if you've subscribed or not?" And it actually works. So I've now discovered why people do it. I've got 500 new subscribers. So I thought, that's magnificent. So I'm going to ask you again to, if I may interrupt your viewing pleasure or viewing pain, probably at the moment with what's happening with Guilherme, and just check if you're subscribed, because lots of people that watch these videos aren't subscribed. And click subscribe, but not just click subscribe. Next to it, there's a bell. If you click that bell, if you like these videos, you might not want your phone pinging every time I upload a video. But if you don't mind, if it's not too intrusive, maybe you've got notifications muted, then I'd really appreciate if you press subscribe, press the bell, and might get another 500 extra subscribers. You never bloody know. Anyway, hopefully, I'm waiting to do some positive news. Well, we did a lovely positive video. Obviously, after the win, we've done some positive videos on Potter and whatnot, but I want to do a positive transfer video of us signing somebody, and we've got to be close.